before the pomp and circumstance, newly elected members of the Atlanta City Council gather at City Hall for a concise overview, an introduction, if you will, to the inner workings of this important legislative body.
Okay. Nice to meet you.
For some, a simple notebook with a name and title brings to mind a sobering reality.
Good morning and welcome to City Hall in your new and returning capacities as members of the Atlanta City Council.
Atlanta City Council Staff Director Theo Pace heads up a support staff that will provide knowledge of everything from how to use the microphones to getting adjusted to studio lights. There's administrative support, information technology, procurement protocols, a day filled with vital information.
Our experience was like to be in the Army, this moment right now.
Yeah, this is it, right? And another format.
Fill out as much paperwork as you can.
And yes, lots of paperwork. One-on-one conversations for clarity. They are found in abundance.
As long as you just write 1,000 on there.
Everyone wanted to make sure they understood what was being presented.
As you can see, the last column is your actual full council meetings. These are mandated in the code as the first and the third Monday of each month.
From there to a tour of council chamber, where in-person council meetings are held. New signs bearing the names of the newly elected council members were created and being prepared for installation in council chamber. They will be ready when in-person meetings resume. For these members, it was an opportunity to get a real feel for the voting experience, witness the technology, and be seated in the chairs from which they will legislate. They toured council offices and took official headshots for council portraits, which are housed in City Hall. It was a day of learning and establishing new friendships. Council members tell me it was a day they will never forget.
Being in this building just, kind of gives you chills about, the reverence and the importance of the position that you're in. And so I'm just so excited to be here. It's been a whirlwind. It's been 6 months for me running for office to get to this point. And I'm just really excited to do the people's work and just start doing everything we can to work with all my council members to make our city better. Constituents want to make sure that government works for them, and that's doing a lot of basic city government services like, yard and waste collection and making sure that our streets are paved and that there are adequate and safe sidewalks for everyone. And so these are some things that, I want to get to work on day one and make sure that, these resources that are put throughout the city are done in an equitable fashion, that people see that, the city is actually working for them.
I think coming in, seeing the notebook with the city seal and then my name as council member elect, it hit me a little bit. I've been very clear, I cannot and I'm not expected to do this alone. So with all of the weight that is being placed upon me by my district, they clearly understand I will be reaching out to them to help me to carry that weight. We have to address crime. But at the same time, there are some very specific things that District 3 need as we talk about affordable neighborhoods, as we talk about short-term rentals, even the safe street programs where we have true transportation in our neighborhoods. So it's a lot of things that we have to handle at once, but prioritizing those things and being able to put on a list to move them forward is the thing that we're looking to do.
I feel good. It hasn't fully sunk in yet. I'm not going to lie. It still feels like I'm in a dream, but I've appreciated really just every aspect of this journey so far. The hospitality of the city staff, just the gravitas of walking into this building in this way and being in that room. It's just been so phenomenal. I think the first thing, and one of the reasons why I got into this race at the time that I did, is that a lot of our neighborhoods in Southwest Atlanta don't have sidewalks, don't have crosswalks, don't have speed humps and speed tables to slow down speeding vehicles. And a lot of our neighbors rely on MARTA, rely on walking to the store. A lot of our kids walk or bike to school. My home neighborhood in Mechanicsville has the highest rate of kids that walk and bike to school, but the infrastructure is not there to make sure they can do so safely. At the end of the day, we got to get to work, we got to get to school.
This is all still very surreal. This is a lot of fun and a lot of information that's being thrown at us, but it's really exciting. I've already been taking the time to meet with everyone, establish each neighborhood's priorities, and working on figuring out what staff is going to work best with our neighborhood captains. But the pieces I'm most excited about working on are continuing access to the project that we're already doing around access to council, for people facing evictions and foreclosures, trying to work on a neighborhood by neighborhood master plan, because we need to really work on balancing density with green spaces, and also trying to grow our commercial districts, because we need to make sure that we have and are supporting our small businesses. And really excited about doing a lot more with the Atlanta Public Schools and bringing vocational training back into our school systems.
There's definitely a sense of familiarity and comfort and excitement to be returning. I really enjoyed my 2 terms of service before. I feel like we got a lot done. I know that we have a lot of work to do, and I feel like I still have more to give and more gas in the tank. So I'm very excited to meet my new colleagues on council, and I think there's a lot of great energy, a lot of great ideas, and I look forward to just making those happen and making those visions a reality. I think first and foremost, as I promised the voters that supported me, is that I want to make sure the city is delivering on its promises to its residents and taxpayers and stakeholders. In basic city services, making sure the city is safe and clean and functioning the way it should. And then I think we get to dream. Let's think about the city we want to become in 5, 10, 20 years. One that is accessible to all, so around housing affordability and transportation. I think there's some great promises and ideas and aspirations out there. I would love to work on those.
Well, this is a great return to City Hall. I have been on council, as you know, for 3 terms, from 2002 until 2009, and then again from 2014 to 2018. And so every time I come down here, I know and realize how important the work is, which is why I decided to run again. This time, for the first time ever, I am not citywide. I am representing my own part of town, which is the western part of Buckhead. I want to get started on the new bond referendum and the T-SPLOS that's going on. I'm already working on the Beltline, the northernmost part of the Beltline, which has not been done and has not even been designed. And so there's 6 different corridor possibilities, and so I'm working with the community and with the Beltline on that. There are a lot of constituent service issues. We all know those. We know solid waste, we know recycling, yard trimmings not functioning as well as they need to. So that is a major concern.
Atlanta is a beacon of social mobility. It used to be when I grew up, so it wasn't as tough to get out as the way it is now. I ran because it's almost impossible to get out right now. If you're born right now in poverty in the city of Atlanta, 29% of the black people in this city are below the poverty line. If you have you have a 4% chance of making it out. What that means is if you got 100 kids born at Grady Memorial Hospital, by the time you get to number 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you got to count 96 more people before you see any social mobility. That's Atlanta now. That's not the Atlanta I grew up in. And so I ran so we can change that Atlanta, change that brand.
It's weird. I feel like I'm still somehow supposed to be on a campaign trail putting out yard signs, and so I still feel guilty when I'm not out putting out signs or talking to people or making a meeting. I'm a native of Atlanta. I'm born and raised here, and I have seen amazing prosperity throughout our entire city. However, there are some communities that have been left behind. I actually am a resident in District 12, the Sylvan Hills community, and there are some things some challenges that I see, and some areas where we could certainly do some improvements. And I want to be a part of the solution. I think that we all have a role to play in the success of our city, and I want to be a part of ensuring that our residents thrive, that our employees have the tools and resources to do their jobs, and that the city of Atlanta is a welcome, opening place for people to come and do business, to work and play.
Being in council chambers, that place that I've been in before as a citizen, but being on the other side and contemplating really trying to serve the community. So yeah, I think it's started to sink in a little bit. But I think anytime you come into something new, there's really 2 things you're trying to learn. One are the procedures and the way that things work and how the business is done. And the other is just the culture and the feel of the place, which really comes down to the people. So there are a lot of new people to meet, a lot of names to remember, which is going to take me a little bit of a time, and everybody will have to help me remember their names. People are excited, and I think that's what makes me excited to get to work. And so I think I can already feel that people are going to be so helpful as many of us new, get up to speed.
Feels great to be returning for a second term, just to bring the needed change to Atlanta in a across the city. Public safety is a concern, city services are a concern, and I'm looking forward to working with our new mayor, our new council president, and all of my returning and new colleagues to make Atlanta a better city for everyone.
Atlanta is sending to City Hall a younger, more progressive group of folks with a lot of energy and urgency. The city's facing some real challenges right now, and I am incredibly excited about the new folks that we're welcoming on council. I'm excited to be coming back with my colleagues from last term, and I'm pumped about the future. It feels like this council is going to continue moving in the direction of operating more and more as a team. And looking at the challenges that we face as a city as a collective of 15. And I'm excited about that. The issues we have to solve have to be done with that mindset in place. And so I'm pumped about people bringing their different perspectives from the districts they represent, but tackling challenges head on as a body. And I think we're going to make some really good progress over the next year.
I feel absolutely energized and excited, not only because I was voted in for my second term as council member of District 11, but because all of the city of Atlanta residents they're excited. I keep hearing how much they're looking forward to this whole new, fresh council. I'm excited about our new mayor. I'm excited about all of the new council members that we have, and I'm excited to return with the ones that I've done so much work with. I am now going to be considered a veteran, which is actually funny to me, but at the same time, I do feel that it's important to dig in and help those that have questions. So I'm looking forward to working with them. They have great ideas. They're young, energetic, and I could use some of that as well.
This is another term that I'm being sworn in for. I am just as excited as I was the first time that I was ever sworn into elective office. This is when we stand before the citizens of Atlanta and take our oaths, basically saying that we're going to keep the covenant that they have placed in us via their vote to govern the city to the best of our ability. We're very excited about the new members of the Atlanta City Council. We've got a couple of returning members also who have served previously. And of course, whatever advice and counsel that we can provide to the new members, if they so desire to need it and want it, we're more than happy to provide it and to bring them under our wing and to show them the ropes, back there on the hall down at the City Council. I'm very, very excited about this group of folks. Each brings their own unique impressions to the City Council and their legacy of service. So it's going to be great to be shoulder to shoulder with them, working on the issues and on behalf of our citizens.
All right, good morning, everyone. Ms. Kempson Wright, are we ready? All right.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we're ready.
All right, excellent. This is the 10 o'clock, January 11th, regularly scheduled meeting of the City of Atlanta Utilities Committee. I'm Howard Shook, and I will be chairing the committee this year. And so I'm going to call the meeting to order. And Ms. Kempson Wright, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Councilmember Howard Shook.
Aye.
Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari. Councilmember Andrea L. Boone. Present. Councilmember Dustin Hillis. Councilmember Antonio Lewis.
Present.
Councilmember Alex Wine.
Present.
Councilmember Jason Winston.
Present.
Mr. Kerry, you do have a quorum, and I have been informed that President Shipman has also joined the call.
All right. Let's check to make sure everybody is unmuted who's trying to get on the call. To members who aren't online, let me know if you're going to be voice voting. I know that.
Chairman Liliana Bakhtiari is also here.
Okay, thank you. Are you online?
I am.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. All right, well, we have an agenda. As other members join or are synced in, they can sound off so that they can be recognized. And now, Ms. Kempson-Wright, would you do the honors of reading the remote meeting statement?
Yes, this City Utilities Committee meeting is being conducted remotely as advertised and as in accordance with the official Code of Georgia 6014-1. The meeting will be conducted in conformance with Robert's Rules of Order and the Rules of Council as authorized by the City Code. The public may access the meeting by the following conference-free, toll-free access 404-902-5066, conference ID 151945, which was noted on the Friday, January 7th public meeting notice. The public may also view the meeting on Channel 26, citycouncilatlanta.gov, or the Council's YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter pages via at ATL Council. All presentations are available on the Atlanta City Council City Utilities Committee presentation page. The agenda was published and made available on Friday, January 7th via atlantacitygA.iqmt.com. Public comment was accepted between the hours of 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. on yesterday, Monday, January 10th. All persons present on the conference bridge are requested to mute your phones and speakers. Additionally, speakers must be acknowledged by the presiding officer prior to speaking. Each council member is requested to open your Outlook email and minimize the screen to view amendments, substitutes, and informational documents which were distributed earlier or may be distributed during the meeting. Thank you all in advance for your cooperation.
All right, and thank you. As regards the adoption of the agenda, I would propose that we amend it so as to include hearing from Commissioner Wiggins so that he may update us on the situation regarding solid waste collections. Ms. Kempson-Wright, are there anything else we need to add to the agenda?
Mr. Chair, that would be the only thing.
All right, in that case, I will move to adopt the agenda.
Juan moved to second.
All right, thank you. There's no questions or comments. Let's open the vote.
The vote is open to amend the agenda. Councilmember Boone? Yes. Will everyone please vote? Councilmember Hillis? The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to amend has been approved, and we need a motion to adopt as amended.
I'll make that motion.
Juan second.
The vote is open. Councilmember Boone? Boone, yes. Councilmember Hillis? And Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Thank you. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda has been adopted as amended.
All right, excellent. Now, as regards to the election for the 2022 Utilities Vice Chair, I know that Mr. Hillis had spoken to me about his interest in being Vice Chair. He's a veteran committee member, very interested in solid waste programs, and his district, District 9, probably contains more water sewer infrastructure than perhaps the rest of us put together. Has he joined us yet? All right, perfect. I'm going to make the motion to nominate him as Vice Chair. All right, excellent.
Yeah, and I was present. I don't know why I couldn't be heard on the other votes. I've been off at the beginning of the meeting.
All right,
Juan will second that motion. I wish that he wasn't here. It'd be more fun to stick it on him that way.
Let's say tried and true tradition here, as some of you know. Are there any other nominations? Going once, going twice. All right, let's open the vote on Mr. Hillis as Vice Chair.
This does not require an electronic vote. It's a voice vote. If there is no objection, this can be by unanimous consent.
Well, all right. Are there any objections? Hearing none, he is Vice Chair by acclaim. Congratulations, Mr. Hillis.
Much appreciated.
All righty. That takes us to the goals and objectives that the committee hopes to follow through on for the upcoming year. Last year's goals and objectives have been distributed to the members here for your review and to give the new members a flavor of what such goals and objectives might look like. We're not going to tackle that today, but staff has asked that as of when would you like to get those, Ms. Kempson, right? Friday the 21st?
Yes, sir, if possible, so that we can adopt them at the Tuesday, January 25th meeting, but no later than adopting the Tuesday, February 15th City Utilities meeting.
Okay, that sounds more than reasonable. So committee members take a look at last year's list and start fashioning the items you'd like to see on this year's list. Try to get them to staff on the 21st. All right, excuse me. That takes us to public comment.
One moment, Mr. Chair.
Good morning. My name is Adrienne Coleman, and I'm calling to make comment about People TV, the public access TV operator. A couple of things. I wanted to follow up. I hope that you will put back on the agenda very quickly an update, a quarterly update from People TV. In addition, I'm following up on some requests that I made to the Utilities Committee in 2021 that the Utilities Committee require a audit of People TV. She could give the audit department. It is permissible within the contract that the city has with People TV. As you know, that they've received over $800,000 in the past 4 years. You can do the research over City Checkbook. And to date, People TV has not done any audits as required by previous contracts and their bylaws. People TV has not submitted annual reports that accurately reflected their financial situation. So on behalf of the citizens and the community, I would really urge, hope that you will take.
Greetings, council members and staff, and special greetings to you citizens of Atlanta interested in how city government is working and how we, in your advocate, public policy analyst. The stated mission of People TV is to provide the Atlanta community a voice through public access to media technology. People TV has the potential to truly provide the Atlanta community that voice. It could be showcased in the city of Atlanta, edifying the inhabitants of the city, accommodating the latent media creativity that is on the verge of bursting forth in brilliant and vivid color around this city. Standing in the way of a rescue People TV is a horrific number of board vacancies. I speak specifically of the 2 board slots that the People TV board members are supposed to fill. I speak specifically about the 4 People TV board slots allocated to the city council. I speak specifically about the 3 People TV board slots allocated to the mayor's office. All 9 of these vacancies need to be filled with community-conscious, grassroots citizens who believe in public television and who can ensure that notices of People TV board meetings get out to the public in accordance with state law, the Georgia Open Meetings Act. Is anybody out there listening?
City Utility Committee and Chairman, I am Brother Anthony Muhammad, a soulful, spiritual being as a human experience. I am not a believer in going Catholic Church, religion, Christianity, no more. From Genesis to Revelation, not one person was born from a woman's womb. My nature. Why do I say that to utility? Look at the condition that we allow our people to be with more churches in the metropolitan area and other parts of the state of Georgia. 1,500 districts. Just like Brother Muhammad, the garbage dealer. And yet, I don't have no one but call to ask the city utilities, what are you doing to help the people that you found home? You open up a shelter, but you have it restricted to a certain time of day, and so nobody can be able to find a place to stay home during the mornings and during the evenings. You allow them that allowance. They said it's supposed too busy to hate. But you hate the poor. And I call on you, as a council, to recognize that we have to be more progressive. And it's very normal. A former councilor, a former candidate for mayor, came and spoke about Spudhead. Said we need to do something about the crime. Even Mr. Dickens had agreed months ago with teaching us to find some money and get some videos downtown to accommodate the problem with the people robbing the cars, calling all kind of hazardous, broken glass on the street, broken buildings, and knock down people robbing to get access to resources. This is called a habit fraud. The utilities over Atlanta, the public works department. That's what we need to do as a board. Find ways, utility committee, to collaborate with the mayor, Mr. Dickerson, and the Human Resource Department, and the public utilities need to call on public works department to find ways to help eliminate the problem. And Mr. Dickerson, this that he came from, this boom, this that she came from. Why? A man called me and asked me, would I go and speak to call Miss Boone? And your area man has Miss Boone, Mr. Dixon, a man in your district has not been allotted to deep repair to call us up this law office don't want to work to resolve a sewer problem that was created by your church. Go back over, Muhammad. Lay out.
That concludes public question.
All right, thank you. I propose that before we take on the consent agenda, that we hear from Commissioner Wiggins, assuming he's on the call so we can get an update on the solid waste situation. Is the Commissioner with us?
Yes, good morning, Chairman Shook and committee members. Are you able to hear me well enough?
Yes, sir.
Yes, as you're aware, DPW began to experience significant staffing challenges associated with the recent Omicron variant outbreak. Our problems began around the 20th of December when we experienced the initial onset of the Omicron variant. And rising to the end of that month, problems increased significantly. On Monday, we had approximately 20 staff members that were absent. By the end of that week, the spread increased so rapidly, we had over 150 employees department-wide that were absent, which really forced us to focus on collecting trash as a matter of health and sanitation. So as time progresses each day, currently our staffing position is increasing slightly, but enough for us to be able to deploy crews, increase the amount of crews that we deploy each day. Our strategy has been to work into the evening hours up to darkness and throughout the weekends, focusing on really the areas of the city that have the heaviest amount of recycling disposal. Currently, that area is the Buckhead area and the surrounding communities that have the most tonnage disposed as it relates to recycling. If our staffing, the current trajectory of our staffing and attendance continues, we anticipate that we will be able to resume all services beginning the 31st of January. But as an ongoing practice, we're handling recycling as staffing allows. Each day, we are being able to add more recycling crews to our crew out schedules. Do you have any questions in particular related to the current state of curbside collections that you would like for me to address directly?
Well, I have some just general questions, the answers to which can be passed along to members of the public who are once again filling up our inboxes. So the guidance for them is, if it's your regular day, get out your recycle bin and your Herbie, but only the sanitary waste gets picked up. Go ahead and leave the recycle bin out there. You're not going to do it on an every other week basis as a matter of form. Someone hopefully is going to come out and collect it, correct?
Yes, that is correct. So we're asking that the recycling carts are being left at curbside. The biggest challenge that we have right now is to being able to provide a precise date of when we will be able to collect the carts, because our staffing situation is so fluid. But what we have done to try to remain in contact and to inform the neighborhood of when we will be in the area is that our communications team has been in contact with the respective NPU representative to let them know which streets we hope to canvass on that particular day. Again, we're working throughout the weekend into darkness, and this weekend we sent out several messages via Nextdoor, Twitter, and Facebook about our location. So, yes, Chairmanship, we're asking that the recycling carts be left at curbside until we have the opportunity to come back and collect the recyclable materials.
All right. Are people being handed citations or warnings for leaving stuff out?
No, sir. Again, this situation really came at a very unusual time. As you're probably aware, the month of December is our heaviest month for waste collections due to waste disposed associated with the holiday season. So us, the department being aware of that, we have suspended any enforcement activities. We also began our Feet on the Street program where random recycling audits are conducted. That practice has been suspended, for one, because that team also had a severe COVID outbreak, and two, because of our current collection challenges as well, that continuing the program would probably have caused additional confusion. So we decided to suspend the program until we're able to resume our regular collection schedule.
All right, thank you. I'll relinquish for now to Mr. Wan, who will be followed by Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner, this is Alex Wan. I've got a couple of questions. First of all, I just want your assurance or reassurance that the recycling is indeed still being recycled. I know that other jurisdictions have announced that they are simply taking their recycling to a landfill, but I want to confirm that we are still properly recycling the materials that once they are picked up.
Yes, sir, that's correct. We are still collecting those materials and taking them to our material recovery facilities, and so they are not being commingled with solid waste.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that. My second question has to do with what I'm calling catch-up recyclings. I understand that if some constituents have been calling in and they've managed to be able to get their recycling picked up on what appears to be kind of one-offs. Is that the case? And if so, is there not a better strategy around trying to do catch-ups with entire streets or entire neighborhoods versus just these one-offs? Again, if that is the case.
Yes. As much as we would like to respond based on calls that we receive, we're just simply not able to do that. Our strategy currently is to address the areas that have gone the longest without recycling first. And as we're able to go back and to address any complaints, we'll do that after servicing those communities that have gone the longest without service.
So you're doing this on top of what would be regularly scheduled for pickup that day, correct? You're not displacing regular service. It's just if you have extra capacity after that has been completed, you'll go and pick up ones that have been missed previously. Is that correct?
That is correct. After all of the trash has been collected, we are sending our teams out to go and collect recycling. The exception is now that our staffing situation is improving, we are able to assemble crews to collect recycling at the beginning of the day. Previously, when we first experienced the outbreak, we barely had enough crews to collect all of the trash. And so the recycling, once the trash was collected, we began collecting the recycling during the evening hours and on the weekends. Currently, again, because our staffing situation is slightly improving each day, we're able to assemble crews when we first schedule our day each morning.
Okay. I mean, I do think the public continues to understand COVID staffing shortages, and there is an amount of patience out there. I think it's just important for them to understand that there is a strategy, a plan, and I think if you aren't just doing one-offs, then we need to basically dispel that thought, because I think that is a source of frustration that I've heard, is that someone calls in and they have their squeaky wheel and gets things picked up, but a truck will drive by the entire street and see the blue carts out and not do anything about it. So if you're assuring me that's the case, we're good. I think we have an opportunity to at least relay all this that I just asked back out to the public. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Lewis.
So one quick question first. Are you saying that Buckhead is the only place you're going to be doing recycling until January 31st because you didn't do them, because you haven't been able to do recycling in Buckhead?
No, sir. Again, we're sending out crews throughout the entire city as our staffing situation improves. So the amount of crews that are distributed are based on the heaviest participants of the recycling program, and to make sure that in a uniform way that all of our customers are within days of each other as far as how recycling is collected. So it's a two-pronged approach, is that we're picking up the recycling based upon the heaviest participants to ensure that when we return to our regular collection schedule, that we can collect the recyclable materials in a way that's manageable. But we're also ensuring that every sector of the city receives the same level of service. Is that
and I only say that because you mentioned Buckhead by name when you said that was that you're going to be. So that's the heavy participation part.
So as it relates to recycling, Buckhead and the surrounding communities, as it relates to tonnage, are the heaviest participants. And so being able to distribute crews evenly and to make sure that, again, when we return to our regular collection schedule, we are addressing those needs as far as being able to collect all of the standing recycling on the street. But our goal, and we've been successful with this, is to ensure that uniformly across the city that all of our customers are collected with the same intervals within days of each other.
Okay.
But my reason for mentioning Buckhead was making reference to us having to respond with staffing to address the amount of standing recycling.
Okay. My next question, or next bucket of questions, were around what's your pie in the sky number of crews we need to make sure Cleveland Avenue and Metropolitan have the same type of effort that Buckhead gets?
I'm not sure if I understand. Are you referring to waste collections, curbside waste collections?
No, crews. You said you need, every day you're adding staff to your crews. I'm asking, like, how many crews do you need to make sure that we're able to get waste and recycling, and we have enough crews? How many crews do you need, and how many crews do you currently have?
So the amount of crews vary. So we have approximately currently 190 staff members that are assigned to curbside collections. And throughout the city, we have up to 5 service areas. And the goal is to make sure that each of those service areas, that our vehicles travel an equivalent amount of miles and service an equivalent amount of households. And each day requires a different level of staffing. So the amount of staffing required, for an example, for Cleveland Avenue in comparison to other areas of the city varies. In fact, the amount of staffing that's required to service the Cleveland area varies by each day. So there's not a set amount of staff that's needed to perform curbside collections. It's just based on a particular day. And the way that collection strategy was developed was through a route optimization program that was created through some type of computer modeling program. So to answer your question, the amount of staffing varies each day.
So that won't help me in my. I'll talk about the computer program when I go to an MPU meeting, but that won't help me because we have trash in my house and recycling in my house personally that hasn't been picked up, and we don't know when they're coming. And so when I'm talking to MPU leaders, they're saying, how many do we need? And we also have we have people that need jobs that have been applying for the jobs in the trash and sanitation specifically. And I have their names. I'll be sending a list over to folks. And so I'm asking, like, what's our staffing shortfall? And I'm asking if we can find out how many we need so that we can make sure this happens.
Right. So the staffing shortfall, again, each day. So currently we are at a little bit above 65%, I believe. again, each day that increases. Earlier this year, late summer, the COO's office authorized us to increase the amount of staffing. And over a 45-day period, we increased our staffing by 25% above our normal levels. So we have done a lot of work in preparing for this outbreak, but no one anticipated the impact it would have on the department. So again, each day the number changes. Ideally, we would like to have up to 80% staffing to be able to perform the service efficiently. So the question, if I understood your question correctly, is how many staff members will we need to service a particular community? We're not able to answer that question because each day, again, the amount of staffing changes.
And I mean the whole city, not the community, but I appreciate you. I'll be reaching out to your office. I mean, enough staff to cover the entire city, not just a particular community.
Yes. So currently we get 190 staff members. And again, at our lowest, we had approximately 80 employees that were showing up to perform curbside collections. Today, we're, again, a little bit over 65%, I believe. Each day that the position improves slightly, but we anticipate that we will be able to fully return to collecting all materials by January 31st.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hillis.
Thank you, Chairman Shook. Thank you, Commissioner Wiggins, for the update. A few questions. How is this most recent episode affecting our third-party contractors, and what specifically are they working on? I know they're working on yard waste, but are they working on any other items within DPW?
So our third-party contractors are handling yard waste exclusively, so they aren't assisting with any of the other services. They just don't have the capacity and equipment to be able to do that. I have not received any updates as it relates to their staffing issues. And I don't anticipate that we will. Of course, the amount of yard waste that is being disposed has stabilized during the beginning of fall. Of course, we had issues with leaf fall. Since that's no longer an issue, I don't anticipate our third-party contractors having any issues with being able to provide the staffing needed to perform the service that is required.
Refresh my memory. How many of those contractors do we have? Is it just one, or is it multiple contractors that are doing this work?
We have 2 landscape contractors that are assisting with yard debris.
And what is their work schedule like?
They're working Monday through Fridays. This past weekend was the exception. One of the contractors came out to assist with the collection of Christmas trees.
Understood. How is this latest issue affecting bulk and special ops within DPW?
So many of our crews in the special operations division have been transferred over to curbside collections. So we're using a contractor for bulk collections. And they had issues during the same time period that DPW was also that first week of, the week of 20 December, which put them at times up to 2 days behind. But I believe that they are getting back on schedule at this point.
Understood. Thank you. That's all I have for now.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Bacchiari.
Hi, yes, thank you. And thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. I just had a couple of questions. I was wondering what is the current high performance, or what is your current performance rate, and how are you tracking what's been missed?
So we're tracking what has been left through a tool that uses GIS technology. Our route supervisors have the app that they can utilize that on their phones. And so at the conclusion of the day, we're able to identify clusters of the city that are still outstanding and need of service. And as far as performance, we use our service level agreements and our response time to be able to determine if we're providing the service according to our performance metrics.
And are you tracking? Like you mentioned GIS, but are you using that to plan your catch-up strategy? Is there any way that we can see the numbers, your performance numbers, how you've been tracking all of this? Is there any way to make those numbers available to council or to this committee, I should say?
Certainly. So we can share the number as far as the amount of crews that we've deployed, the amount of complaints that have been addressed, and how quickly they've been closed out. But yes, we can share that information.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I guess my last question is, thank you for being willing to share those. And do you know when we might have them?
I will do my best to get them to you within the next day. Let me work with my team. I don't want to overcommit, especially while we're still dealing with staffing issues. But I will attempt to work with 311 and our performance team to see how quickly we can get a report over to you.
I appreciate it.
All right. Before I circle back to, Mr. One was on my list and then he disappeared. Here it is again. I'm going to just squeeze in a couple questions, if you don't mind. So just so I'm sure, if not for COVID, you would have the manpower. In other words, you have filled positions needed to do the job as regularly scheduled. Is that right?
Chairman, that is correct. Had it not been absences related to the COVID outbreak, we would have had the staffing available to perform all services.
All right, let me ask you this. Are you aware of any research indicating that proximity to household garbage being generated by COVID-infected households might be a contributor as to why this particular cohort of employees has been so hard hit?
No, sir. I'm not aware of any such study.
Okay. With the retirement of Ms. Dodson, who's at the helm for solid waste?
Currently, there would be Kanika Greenlee.
And is she there on an interim basis, or is she permanent?
At this moment, it's an interim basis. We're still performing some restructuring within the department.
All right, thank you. Mr. Wan, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is to piggyback on Councilmember Bakhtiari's. In terms of the data, I wanted to confirm that the data I'd like to see isn't the 311 calls, but rather what y'all are tracking in terms of missed. I wanted to confirm that. For example, I know folks on my street, we weren't getting recycling picked up, but I don't know that we all called in. So to me, that number might not fully represent what our performance is actually at right now.
Okay. Yeah, we can certainly share the data that we're able to collect from the tools that will identify the areas that have been covered on a daily basis.
Right. Thank you, Commissioner.
I've got one last question, just for the edification of the new members of the committee, as well as our tens of listeners in the public. What are the comparative tonnage disposal fees, landfill versus recycling?
Let me defer to Ms. Braswell. We recently had a slight increase in our solid waste disposal fees, and she may have that information at the comparison between it. Ms. Braswell, are you available?
I am on the phone. This is Rita Braswell, Department of Public Works. If you could give me about 5 minutes, I can pull that up and give a definite answer. It's around $40 per ton for garbage disposal and around $75, but I can be more specific in a few minutes.
Yeah, if you could get back to us with those exact figures, I think a lot of people would find that surprising and perhaps dismaying. Are there any other committee members with questions for Mr. Wiggins while Ms. Braswell looks up those figures?
Yes,
right, let's do it.
Jason Winston, I have a word.
Oh, yes. Go ahead, Mr. Winston.
Commissioner Wiggins, I want to thank you and your office. I know you all have been inundated with lots of calls as much as we have with calls and requests trying to figure out what is going on with some of the recycling and garbage pickup. One of my questions is, should requests continue to come through 311 right now as you all continue to figure out a long-term solution right now? Because I know you're still probably getting inundated with a lot of those requests right now.
Yeah, so if there is a request, currently we're just asking that if your recycling hasn't been collected, please keep the can at curbside until we're able to get the materials collected. If there is a complaint related to trash, yes, please call 311 and lodge a complaint so that we're aware of the issue.
Okay. And then I know in District 1, there's been a lot of confusion, just from my experience, on the yard waste pickup. And I heard your comment earlier that, that the third-party contractor is still taking care of that. But we've seen bags with number of bags that are less than 21, because I know that's kind of the rule. Anything over 21 bags constitutes a bulk pickup. But right now we've been seeing bags less than that number that haven't been picked up as well. Is that something that's, we feel like we're back on track with, or is that where we need to also have some requests in as well?
Yes, sir. That should not be the case at this time. And if that is occurring, I would like to know so that we can have our route supervisors to go out and address those issues.
Okay. And then lastly, just from a communication, this is more of a suggestion. You talked about the staffing levels being at about 42% now, is where based on where you'd like to be, having a normal number of about 190 employees versus the 80. I found it very, very helpful to be able to articulate those numbers during this staffing shortage that you've had. And it has been very receptive to those in the public. And I think it's the way that we can continue to get this messaging out. If you could somehow relate that to council members, what are some of the daily staffing levels so that we can relay that information to our constituents, because I think it really helps paint a picture of where we are and where we need to go and how we might be able to help you all going forward.
Yes, sir. Understood. And I will work with our communication team to provide a perspective of our challenges as it relates to numbers, if that's helpful. And we'll get something over to you, if not today or tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Braswell, are you back with us?
Yes, I am. So the disposal amount for regular garbage is $39.75, and the amount for Pratt for recycling is $75 per ton.
All right, thank you. Anyone else with any questions? All right, seeing none, let's let these folks get back to work. These were good questions. Mr. Winston came up with a great idea when he asked for a cheat sheet or a white paper that we can use to push information out to the constituents who are confused and bereaved about the current situation. So if we're ready to move on, thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Ms. Braswell. And Ms. Kempson, right, if you're ready, could you sound our first reads?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Item number 1 is 21-1025, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee to ratify services rendered in connection with agreement SC 1190080 Green Infrastructure Design Challenge Outdoor Activity Center with Volcourt Incorporated beginning November 2nd, 2021, and to authorize the mayor or his designee to execute the second amendment to the agreement to extend the term of the agreement retroactively effective from November 2nd, 2021 through June 1st, 2022, and no additional costs on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management in accordance with Section 21163, subsection C of Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances and for other purposes. Item number 2 is 22-1026. An ordinance by City Utilities Committee to correct ordinance number 21-0767 adopted by the Atlanta City Council on October 18, 2021 and approved by operation of law on October 27, 2021 by deleting the incorrect contract term included therein for SPS 1210320 solid waste services supplemental staffing with Georgia Works Incorporated and inserting the correct contract term of 9 months retroactively effective November 21st, 2021 through August 20th, 2022. Item number 3 is 22-1027, ordinance authorizing the chief financial officer to amend the fiscal 2022 water and wastewater renewal and extension fund budget in the amount of $2 million to transfer funds from the watershed reserves for appropriations and add funds to the small water meter installation project. Item number 4 is 22-1028, an ordinance authorizing the chief financial officer to amend the fiscal year 2022 water and wastewater renewal and extension fund budget in the amount of $20,470,000 to transfer funds from Watershed Reserve Fund for appropriations and add funds to the Sewer Group 5 Capacity Relief Westside PTC Basin Project 2A. And the last item is 22-1029, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the fiscal year 2022 Water and Wastewater Renewal and Extension Fund budget in the amount of $700,000 to transfer funds from the Watershed Reserves for appropriations and add funds from Watershed Reserves for appropriations to the annual supervisory control and data acquisition maintenance project and for other purposes.
Thank you. Those being first reads, we will take them up at our next meeting. Could you sound our first resolution?
Yes. Item number 6 is 22-R3004, a resolution by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Roswell, Georgia on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management for the purpose of adjusting water and sewer facilities that are in conflict with the City of Roswell's bridge construction project. Project indicator number 009640, State Route 9 at Chattahoochee River in Roswell. Enhancements in an amount not to exceed $35,100. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account number listed herein and for the purposes.
Mr. Bacaro, are you with us?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman Shook and council members. Sorry, I was just waiting to get unmuted. This is Rob Bacaro, Department of Watershed Management. So the purpose of this legislation is to request funds in the amount not to exceed $35,100 for construction services related to a project with the City of Roswell. It's called the Chattahoochee River in Roswell Enhancements Project. But from their point of view, the project involves the construction of a 12-foot wide, 625-foot long pedestrian and bicycle bridge over the Chattahoochee River parallel to State Route 9. Approaches to the bridge will include 12-foot wide shoulders connecting to the SR9 Azalea Drive Riverside intersection on the north side of the river, and existing sidewalk along the east side of State Route 9 on the south side of the river. Watershed scope of work will consist of abandoning and adjusting approximately 125 linear feet of 12-inch water main, 10 feet of 6-inch water main, 6 water meter boxes, 2 water valve boxes, 2 fire hydrants, 4 valve boxes, and other appurtenances as required. Please let me know if anyone has any questions.
Thank you. Committee members, any questions? All right, seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve.
Juan, second.
If there's no questions or comments, let's open that vote.
The vote is open. Councilmember Boone?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Thank you. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 7 is 22R3005, a resolution by City Utilities authorizing the mayor and his designee to execute an agreement for IFBC 1220027 Sewer Group 4 Small Diameter Rehabilitation Contract A with Ruby College Incorporated on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management for a term of 548 calendar days and an amount not to exceed $17,995,397.15. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
All right, thank you. It is noted that the iPro report has not come in yet, and so at the appropriate time, I'm going to make a motion to hold this, as is our custom. We always wait for those reports to come in. If we do end up holding it, I would propose that we get the presentation on this item at our next meeting, or whenever the iPro does come in, so we can hear from them and the commissioner. Are there any objections to taking that course, or comments or questions? If not, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to hold. Second, Helen. That motion's been made and properly seconded. Any questions or comments? Let's open the vote.
The I think they're adding those features of that. Councilmember Boone?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Thank you. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is held. And Councilmember Shook?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Browning would like to speak to this item.
Of course, Commissioner, go ahead.
Hey, good morning, guys. I recognize that this will be held, Chairman Shook, so no comments from me. We'll be prepared to speak to it once the iPro report is submitted.
Okay. Is it your expectation that we will have that by our next meeting?
We're hopeful. We're going to check with the audit team to see where the report is. So we're going to shoot for the next meeting.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. And our next resolution.
22R3006, item number 8 is a resolution by City Utilities Committee authorizing additional funding for Project Indicator M005652 with the Georgia Department of Transportation on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management, Department of Transportation, On behalf of the Department of Watershed Management to adjust water and sewer facilities in conflict with the Department of Transportation's milling and resurfacing project along State Route 9 from State Route 3 to City Street 1865, Lake Placid Drive in Fulton County, Georgia, in an amount not to exceed $185,872.05. All contractor work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account number listed and for the purposes.
All right. Hang on. Let me ask the committee members. I see Mr. Lewis has either signed up with a question or comment. Okay, then he's taken his name down. So, Mr. Hillis, you're recognized.
Yes. I was just going to ask Watershed on this item. Looks like the overage was over for almost 25%. So I was just going to ask whoever's speaking to this in Watershed the reason for that and what accounted for that. Yep, 20% increase.
Yep, indeed. Let's hear from the department.
Okay. This is Rob Baccaro, Department of Watershed Management. I think, firstly, the reason for the legislation is to provide additional funding for one of Georgia DOT's projects that's already been completed. It was a milling and resurfacing project for State Route 9 from State Route 3 to Lake Place Drive in Fulton County, Georgia. Watershed's scope of work included the installation, adjustment, and or relocation of various water facilities in conflict with the Georgia DOT's project. City of Atlanta had this legislation had been passed back in 2019, so we had paid Georgia DOT already $747,616.50 under a standard utility agreement with Georgia DOT. The work was finally completed and accepted in September 2020. The City of Atlanta will need to reimburse Georgia DOT $185,872.05 to cover additional costs to complete the project. In response to Councilmember Hillis's question, is when we do these projects in collaboration with Georgia DOT or with other interjurisdictions, estimates are prepared and we do the legislation and sign a memorandum of understanding. What does happen sometimes is that this work was priced some time ago, and again, my understanding was that there were additional costs that in the execution of the work that were not previously anticipated, and I think also with inflation and the cost of some of those costs had gone up pretty significantly. So that's the main reason is that the department has engineers that prepare the cost estimates, are very experienced with this type of work. But as I say, just market conditions are such that the final cost was much greater than originally anticipated.
Let me piggyback on Mr. Hillis' question. Are you saying that it turns out there was more work that needed to be done than originally estimated, and or the cost has increased due to inflation?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the two, Chairman Chuck. That there was some additional work. I don't have a list of the additional items that were performed if that was the case, but certainly the final costs were relayed to us by Georgia DOT, and that information was included in the legislation.
All right. Well, the DOT's done the work, and we need to reimburse them. We all understand that. I think we're just trying to understand this is a not insignificant variance. Did we rely on a third party to come up with the original estimate, or was that done in house?
A third party, one of our consultants, prepared the estimates for that.
Well, is there any chance we can have a conversation with them? about making up the costs?
Yes, we can. I think what I would say, though, is that we have, on previous occasions, had some additional costs, but this is a lot higher than normal. I get your point. I would have to follow up with our engineers and confirm why there was, really get a little bit more detail on why these additional costs were necessary.
All right. Why wouldn't this be deemed a change order?
Georgia DOT, the way the memorandum of understanding is that obviously we estimate the costs beforehand, and they tend not to do provide contingency, or they don't normally do the sort of change orders that I can recall.
Any other committee members with a question or comment? I will tell you, just for the new members, the custom here correctly is to always pay people for the work that they have in fact performed. And so I'm going to make a motion to approve this, but I'm really intrigued with the possibility of kind of circling back to whoever did the estimates, taking a look at that contract and seeing if there's the possibility that they can help defray these costs. So I'll make a motion to approve, and if it passes, Mr. Vaccaro, I'll be following up with you on the other part of the conversation.
1 second.
All right, motion's been made and properly seconded. Any questions or comments? Let's open the vote.
The vote is open. Councilmember Boone?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis? Okay. 7-0, this item is favorable.
Thank you.
The next item is item number 9, 22R37, resolution by the Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor and his designee to exercise the first renewal option for sole source agreement FC 10470 incinerator maintenance, repair, and replacement with Industrial Furnace Company Incorporated on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management for a term of 1 year effective February 26, 2022 through February 25, 2023, and an amount not to exceed $1,500,000 and 0 cents. All contracted work will be charged and paid from the account numbers listed and for the purposes.
All right, let's get a presentation, and then I'll recognize Mr. Wong. Do we have a presenter?
Mr. Fletcher should be on the line from the Department of Watershed Management.
Mr. Fletcher, are you with us? Is he on mute? We may have a terrible connection here. Mr. Fletcher?
Good morning, Chairman Schiff. Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Good morning, Chairman Schiff and Council Member Quentin Fletcher, Department of Watershed Management. The City of Atlanta Department of Watershed Management currently contracts with Industrial Furnace Company Incorporated to provide training, upgrades,
repairs, and maintenance for the incinerators on an as-needed basis at the R.M. Clayton Water Reclamation Center. The initial base term of this agreement will expire on February 25th, 2022. This legislation, 22-R3037, will authorize DWM to enter into the first renewal option under the agreement for 1 year in the amount not to exceed $1.5 million. The R.M. Clayton WRC has 2 sludge incinerators. The incineration process removes the moisture from the sludge and destroys both organic matter and pathogenic organisms that exist within it. The end product is ash, which is disposed of at the landfill. This request is critical as the city must meet the requirements.
I'm on a utilities committee meeting.
This request is critical as the city must meet the requirements of the NPDES permit issued by the Georgia Environmental Protection Division. Under these permits, the city is required to maintain critical systems to meet discharge limits to protect the public health and Chattahoochee River water quality. Subject to your question, that concludes my briefing.
All right, we'll go to Mr. Wan, followed by Mr. Hillis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question stems from this is a renewal of a contract that was established that was $2 million for 3 years, yet this one is $1.5 million for one. Wanted a reconciliation of that jump, please.
The $1.5 million will take, we're taking into consideration pollution mitigation requirements. So this will continue to upgrade the incinerators at the R.M. Clayton WRC. We do have an annual Title V permit, so this will help us change out some of the scrubbers that has been identified as a issue with the incinerators.
So it's two things. One, you're saying increased pollution, and then the addition of replacing the scrubbers. Am I understanding you correctly?
That is correct.
Okay.
This contract helps us with upgrades that's needed for the incinerators as well as maintenance. So the $2,000 will assist us with upgrading the equipment as well as maintaining maintenance on the incinerators.
So is there a kind of a scope of work projected for this new year that can be provided?
Yes.
I think better yet, highlighting kind of the incremental work that accounts for the significant jump in the contract amount.
Absolutely. We can provide that scope of work.
Perfect. You mentioned training. That's not listed in the caption, and I'm looking for it in the body of the paper as well. Is that something new, or was that just never put in the origination legislation?
Training is a part of the current agreement.
Okay. I'm just pointing out that it's not listed in the caption or the body of the paper. So I was surprised to hear that. And then finally, and this may be for Ms. Kempson, right? So I'm trying to find the justification for the sole source and the rationale behind it, and I don't see it in the documents within eBoardroom, but since I'm kind of new to eBoardroom, I don't know if it's in here, and I just don't know where to look.
Councilmember Warren, because it is a renewal option, it does not require that the sole source authorization letter be attached to the legislation. The sole source authorization from the Department of Procurement is provided when the actual legislation is in the initial phase for adoption and consideration.
Okay, that'll be an issue to take up with procurement then, because if this procurement is 3 years old, I mean, there is the chance that over that time period that the sole source rationale may no longer apply. But I can take that up with procurement procurement. So thank you. That ends my questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Hills?
Thank you, Chairman Shook. Question is, and that's RM Clayton's in District 9. It's about a mile away from my house. I know it's a constant construction project and upgrades are continually going on. And I know we've implemented some technology there with the Austera, the fertilize, and all that. But is there I guess my question is there a push to migrate away from incineration of sludge? What's the current best practice in the industry? And do we see Watershed getting away from incineration within the next, 5 to 10 years?
Councilmember Hillis, at the RM Clayton WRC, we recently completed the thermo dried capital improvement project. So at RM Clayton, we do have two technologies that we can use to continue to remove the moisture out of the sludge. You currently have the thermo dried as well as the incinerators. Due to the capacity of sludge coming into RM Clayton, currently best practices is to utilize both technologies.
Okay, and do you see that continuing to occur, or is there going to be more upgrades to migrate fully to non-incineration method?
So with this first renewal option, we are upgrading some of the equipment to continue to, look at pollution. On an annual basis, we do have a Title V permit inspection with the Environmental Protection Division. And in recent years, the incinerators have been performing efficiently. So if we could, we would like to keep the incinerators in service, as well as when we send the ash to the landfill, we do pay a cheaper price to dispose of ash compared to dewatered biosolids.
Okay, understood. That's all for now. Thank you, DC Fletcher.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I will go ahead and make a motion to approve.
Second, Hills.
All right, if there's nothing further, let's open the vote.
The vote is open. Councilmember Boone? Yes. Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Thank you. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
All right, thank you, Ms. Kenson. Right, any other action items to come before us today?
There are no other action items, Mr. Chair.
All right. I would ask if the committee members have any questions, comments, or general remarks for the good of the body. While you're pondering that, I would like to say to all the UGA grads out there, congratulations. Any other questions or comments?
This is Councilmember Hills.
Yes, sir, Mr. Hills.
Yeah, just want to send that congratulations personally to Commissioner Browning. I know she's a UGA grad. But also one of the biggest issues this committee has to undertake in 2022 is going back to our favorite subject of solid waste from earlier in the meeting is restructuring of those solid waste fees. And is that something, a timeline we're looking to put into our goals and objectives, or do we need to consult with the law department, or where's the committee feeling about when we need to get that underway?
I think yesterday would be probably the best answer. That is the most pressing item that we will need to tear into. And I'm thinking out loud here, but we have 3 members who are not just new to the committee, they're new to City Council. I I think a good scene setting way to begin the conversation might be to have a work session, and I assume that's going to be virtual, in which we would want to hear from law to discuss the various, find out where the legal sort of guardrails are, and then hear from the public. I hope that we'll end up making a decision, in time to, that will align with adoption of the next year's budget. But boy, it is a whole lot of history, a lot of information, sort of a lot of dismal facts and figures. And I hope we can have a broader discussion than the one we had last year, which I think began in an unfortunate fashion as council was given two choices, A and B. Well, we are the policy-making body, and if we wanted 17 choices to discuss, I think that's all right. But that's my thinking on that, and I'm happy to start queuing up and getting with all of you to find out when y'all would be available for a work session on this.
Chairman, sounds like a plan. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? I will therefore make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. It is non-debatable. Have a nice day.